We're noticing now, during wartime, that some Gulf channels are, well, almost adopting the Iranian narrative. What's the story, Abu Mish'al?
And there are also Gulf nationals who worked as spies for Iran. I mean, we exposed them in Kuwait, and they were exposed by Bahrain, and they were exposed. But this doesn't affect the thing. Today, the one facing Iran is a great power, a major power, Israel and America. They will end 47 years of Iranian arrogance. They've pestered us, Mr. Jamal. They've pestered the region, destroyed the region. They ruined Lebanon, the jewel that was once a jewel. They ruined Yemen with its great history and all. They ruined Iraq, that land, the land of the two rivers.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Jamal Al-Mullah from the UAE. This is Gulf Uncensored, in cooperation with the Arab Strategy Forum. To wage a war, you must have two letters S, silah, a weapon, and sardiya, a narrative. And the second letter S is much more important than the first letter S, the narrative. The narrative is more important than the weapon. But what does narrative mean, Jamal? A narrative is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear a word. You hear America, your mind responds automatically, and Hollywood, Congress, Apple, power, progress, injustice, capitalism, and so on appear before you. And if you hear Russia, the mind responds. And the KGB, the bear, the Kalashnikov, Tolstoy's beard appear before you. And so on. Every word you hear, you have an initial impression of it stored in your mind. This impression is called a narrative. But why is it called a narrative? Because it works through repetition and narration. Thus, the chain works like this. Narration creates the impression creates the opinion controls the action, and the action turns into a decision. So, the foundation is narration, the foundation is a narrative. Salim Al-Jahuri, an Omani Gulf media personality, appears in a clip and says that there are leaks that Donald Trump asked the Gulf states for $5 trillion to continue the war. The Gulf political analyst, also Omani, Ali Al-Mashni, picks it up and repeats the information. Then come social media herds that pick up and repeat. Amidst this chaos, it's planted that the 5 trillion story is a leak from the Washington Post. Good? Good. You go look in the Washington Post, you find nothing. But you discover that you were the only person who went to look, while the ideologized herds took it as fact. And that was that. And the narrative is being planted that Trump is blackmailing the Gulf states. That's one idea. But the real narrative is that the Gulf is submissive to blackmail, that the Gulf is weak, dilapidated, and incapable of resisting. This narrative is constantly reinforced, and new material is being pumped into it all the time. The Kuwaiti Gulfite, Dr. Abdullah Nafisi, comes out and says the Gulf states are just gas stations. Then Ali Al-Mashani pops up and says, No, you're wrong, doctor. The Gulf states are just supermarkets. Then Abdullah Al-Musfir comes along and says the Gulf states are entities made of glass. In a strange alignment with the very same description used by Hassan Nasrallah, the Gulf states succeed in protecting their airspace by 95%, yet they claim these countries are defenseless. Iran fails to protect a single meter of its airspace, and the same gang says Iran is a sovereign state. If there's anything Iran has sovereignty over, it's your weak and defenseless minds. Should I take the word of Salim Al-Jahuri or the word of Elon Musk? Should I take the word of Ali Al-Mashini or the word of Jensen Huang? Should I take the word of Dr. Abdullah Nafisi or the word of Robert Capito? Should I take the word of Al-Musfir or the word of Masayoshi Son? Should I take reality, history, and what's happening right before the eyes of the whole world? Or settle for the nonsense of Fatma Samadi, or Abdul Qadir Faiz, and the rest of those drugged-up Iran lovers? There's a story about a man suffering from a mental illness, and let's call this man Nafsan bin Ma'shan al-Musfarawi. Nafsan believed he was a grain of seed and not a human being. Poor guy. And whenever he saw a chicken in the street, he'd run far away from it, fearing it would eat him. He entered a psychiatric hospital for treatment, and after long sessions, the man was convinced he was a human and not a seed. Thank God. So the therapist gave him a discharge to leave the hospital and return to his family. But after he stood at the hospital door, he saw a chicken in the street across the way. He returned to the hospital, struck with panic. The therapist asked him, "Aren't you convinced that you're a human being?" He said, "Yes, but who's going to convince the chicken?" In the Gulf, there are those who are just like this man, Nafsan ibn Ma'shan al-Musfarawi. No, they're even worse than him. Why? Because they aren't content with just considering themselves seeds, they try to convince all Gulf people that they're just seeds for chickens to eat. The Gulf at Nafasan ibn Ma'shan considers the people of the Gulf to be either soft sweets to be eaten, gas stations to be used, or fragile entities in houses made of glass. And the problem is that this Gulfite Nafsan bin Ma'shan might appear on screens as an analyst or a thinker. He always reminds the Gulf people that they aren't sovereign human beings whose countries are linked to the world through strong and influential economic, commercial and political relations. No, he comes out to remind people that they are just grains to be eaten by the Iranian chicken or the Israeli chicken. It won't do any good to take them to mental institutions to provide them with the necessary treatment. On the other hand, there's the Gulf human being, not the grain, nor the faluda, nor the gas station. The Gulf person who builds, protects, influences, provides relief, and mobilizes the world for the causes they support. A Gulf person whose skin is thick and impenetrable, whose flesh is bitter and inedible, and who knows exactly how to handle the faluda. In the end, here is the Gulf, which has gone through pivotal historical milestones for decades. Regimes have fallen, countries have been torn apart, economies have deteriorated, and the skies of other nations have been violated. Yet, throughout this history, as Gulf people, we were never just gas stations, faluda shops, or fragile entities. On the contrary, we have always been the stronghold, the safe haven, and the constant support. And all of this is by the grace of God above all else. And we say, as the poet said, enemies do not achieve from an ignorant person what an ignorant person achieves against himself. Enemies will not get to us, but they will certainly reach an ignorant few with their narratives. We are here to confront them, we are here to expose them, we are here to reveal them. We now move to our guest from the state of Kuwait, Mr. Ahmed Abel Aziz Al-Jarallah, Editor-in-Chief of a Siyasa newspaper and the Kuwaiti Arab Times. Welcome to the show, Abu Mish'al. You've honored us.
You, and may God bless you, are truly a man who is present everywhere. But you are also a devoted son of the beautiful United Arab Emirates, which, may God grant it success and protect it always, God willing, is your homeland. You are a legend too, and a distinctly different model, particularly in the realms of political and economic professions, characterized by openness and the genuine desire of people from all over the world to live in it.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, may God sustain glory, goodness, security and safety for the United Arab Emirates, the state of Kuwait and all Gulf countries, God willing. And may this crisis pass peacefully. We notice now in a time of war that there are some Gulf channels that have almost adopted the Iranian narrative. What's the story, Abu Mish'al?
Even if they adopted it, people are intelligent enough that their minds cannot be confused. The situation today with this artificial intelligence, you really can't just pull or drag people toward different beliefs than the ones they already hold and live by every day. Today, for instance, if an AI-generated video comes out, people immediately realize it's just artificial intelligence and not the truth. Unfortunately, it's been observed that the Iranians have used this quite heavily, but that's mainly to convince their own people or influence those inside Iran. However, the GCC countries, the youth of the GCC, or the people of the GCC as a whole, they simply won't be convinced by such things. They know, they truly understand the trajectory of this war, and they know exactly why America did what it did, why Israel did it, and why they've stood together. These are people protecting their own nations. It's not a game. I mean, when an Iranian official comes out boasting, saying, we have missiles that can reach America and will equip them with nuclear warheads to kill Americans and slaughter Israelis. What's the reaction to that? The reaction is that you, right from the very beginning, throughout the entire long and complex history of conflicts with the Persians or the Iranians, have always consistently relied on using proxies. Proxies, meaning a proxy here, a proxy there, one in Yemen, one in Lebanon, and so on and so forth. So they rely on others to achieve their objectives. They only ever face the consequences within their own borders. Tell me, Has a Persian or Iranian army ever actually entered Iraq or Jordan or Beirut? No. Those who go there are just a few experts, but the ones doing the fighting and dying are the proxies. That's their history from the days of Al-Madain and since. They're past rulers, and from the days of the Battle of the Kar and the Battle of Al-Qadsiya and the Battle of Chains, in all their wars, they end up being defeated within their own lands. And in this war, tell me, is there even one Iranian or an Iranian missile sent to America or to Israel in a lethal way and so on? Go ahead. All their courage is only against their neighbors.
But Bumish'al, now you say even if these channels adopt the Iranian narrative, it doesn't hurt us. But why is it that we see today a Gulf channel funded by the Gulf, hosting Iranians and promoting their narrative, the Iranian propaganda? I mean, why do we see this happening?
And there are also Gulf individuals, people from the region who actually worked as spies for Iran.
Why? Why does this happen?
I mean, we exposed them in Kuwait, and Bahrain exposed them, and they exposed, but this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it's called. Today, what Iran is facing is a great power, a major state, Israel and America. Today, when Trump or the President of the United States speaks and says 48 hours if you don't open so-and-so, it has a meaning, this. Second, when he says we've prepared stealth missiles are sent from there, from what's it called, from America, they fly. And these stealth missiles, I mean, this story, Japan did it and Hitler did it as well, specifically during the First World War. And when, I mean, if you really think about it, the world became fed up with it. Japan was hit with 2 atomic bombs, and in one day, with the dropping of the 400 or 350,000 were killed, and the environment of 2 cities was gone. It ended. No one can live in them, and so on. We are nearing the end of this. I tell you, this war will end Iranian arrogance. For 47 years, they've bothered us, Mr. Jamal. They bothered the region, destroyed the region, ruined Lebanon, the jewel that was once a jewel. They ruined Yemen, a country with its rich and ancient history, and so on. They ruined Iraq, this land, the land of the 2 rivers. They ruined Syria. And thank God he saved it in the end. I mean, these are saboteurs and not, of course, what makes us happy now, God willing. And it could be that there are 5 sects. There are Arabs, there are Assyrians, there are Azerbaijanis, there are Lurs, there are Turkmens, there are five sects. God willing, I mean, these 5 sects, when we talk about one sect, which is the Persians. As for the rest of the sects, I mean, when we look at the last 30 years, the demonstrations they held, and they were men, some of whom were killed. The last war, when the demonstrations broke out, some of them were killed, as the world says. 32,000 in total.
These last demonstrations, you mean January?
Those who were killed, and as we speak, the day before yesterday, they hanged one of them, claiming he was a spy, and so on and so forth. I mean, without a trial, this president of the republic, the one before this one who died in the crash.
Ibrahim Raisi.
The helicopter, this one right here, sir, he was actually a judge, a man who sentenced 30,000 people to be hanged. Hanged, yes. He was the one responsible for all those executions, sir. And while he was inside the helicopter, I mean, while he felt the helicopter was about to crash, he started shouting, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, but nobody came. Nobody answered his call. I mean,
yes.
Then he died and made the people who died by his judgments happy. Allah Almighty says, and give tidings to the killer of being killed even after a while. These for 47 years destroyed the region, destroyed the people of the region, and I believe God set the Americans on them and set the Israelis on them. And with the easiest thing, I mean, they provoked them, and the result, look, they will not leave Iran, and they will not leave Tehran or any part of Iran, not until the situation there becomes just like what we are witnessing in Gaza with all the devastation and suffering that is happening there. Now, who was it that signaled, who gave the sign and asked the people of Gaza, the Gazans, to enter? Who was responsible for encouraging them to take that step, to make that move?
The Iranians.
Israel.
They are Iranians?
They and their group, this arm of theirs, Hamas and others involved.
Well, Bu Mishal, you're a man who lived through Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait, the liberation, and many wars in the region, even the Iran-Iraq war. And you were a journalist. The question is, was the Gulf media's performance back then the same as today, or is it different? Were there voices in the Gulf that sided with the enemy?
Today, artificial intelligence is noticeably faster than journalism, especially if you want to talk about journalism today. If you don't publish the news yourself in Kuwait, they'll end up publishing it for you somewhere else, maybe even as far away as Honolulu, and eventually that news will make its way back to you. You know what I mean? It's not really like that anymore. All there is to it now is to simply let the truth reveal itself, to allow the facts to come out naturally without interference. That's really all there is to it. Don't you worry about it. I mean, now every day we get news about Trump, and some of it is all lies that he did this or that. And the reason? His conflict with the Democratic Party while he's Republican. They make up stories and tales about him, but upon investigation, after 2 or 3 hours, the truth comes out. He comes out and tells you, no, this isn't true, and that's the end of it. Why do all countries now have the person who clarifies the issues they're going through and so on? The question and answer have become fast, Brother Jamal. It's not like that anymore. Don't ever think that a lie will eventually pass. It's actually quite easy to look into the matter and find out the truth.
You'll find it's a lie. But I have a question. During the invasion of Kuwait in '90, were there media outlets against the Gulf states that were based in the Gulf? Were there Gulf citizens who stood with Saddam, like today, for example?
The invasion of Kuwait was, as you may recall, in the course of the days of his entry, Iran.
Yes, of course.
And everyone was really supporting him. And honestly, he was considered a true hero back then. When he entered, well, in just 2 days, yes, just 2 days, he entered, and he managed to seize all of Khorramshahr, right? Or am I mistaken?
Yes.
And then an American statement came, and that's what stopped the advance. The American statement said back then that America would not allow any geographical changes in the region. So he knew, he understood, and said, since it's like this, what else can I do? And the war lasted for 8 years. And what was the reason? These Persians, their minds are like this. Stubborn until his head is broken. Stubborn, that's it. And of course, we mean those in power and so on.
The regime.
Man, your people, especially during the Iraq war days, suffered greatly. Thousands of people died. About 4.5 million individuals were killed between Iraq. $600 billion was the total cost of this war. And yet it continues. And every one of them, Al-Khamenei hung a key around their neck, made in Thailand, so they could go to heaven.
A key made in Thailand?
Made in Thailand.
Is this a joke or is it true? Is this key a real story?
This is real.
What's the story? I want to hear this.
Huh?
Can you tell me what's the background story of the key to heaven that Al-Khamenei had?
And of course, today, the Revolutionary Guard, my brother, the Revolutionary Guard has 1 million soldiers or 1 million. What's the reason? People looking for work and not finding it. They go to the Revolutionary Guard, and it takes them and sends them, and they crawl towards death everywhere. They crawl towards death. That's what you see. Okay. 47 years. I mean, honestly, all the Persian civilization we've actually seen so far is just missiles and drones. The rest, we really haven't seen anything at all. And there are a few people Israel killed who were the scientists and so on. And they were killed. Man, is there any country, a country where its own people collaborate with their enemy except Iran? And the reason is because they are, oppressed. I mean, they are treated differently.
Abu Mish'al, before the revolution, before the Islamic revolution and the arrival of Al-Khomeini, you had a good relationship with the Shah, Muhammad Rida Pahlavi, and you met him more than once. Was the situation in Iran this bad, like what we're living in now under the regime of Wilayat al-Faqih, or was it better? How was the situation?
Of course, Iran went through, back in the days of Al-Khomeini, what was called the cassette revolution. What is the cassette revolution? The cassette revolution. Al-Khomeini would give a speech and the cassettes would be distributed to everyone. Undoubtedly, the Shah's path wasn't, quite right in some aspects. And they knew exactly where to pressure him, precisely which points to target in order to get the reaction they wanted. They were very clever about it, using the religious angle in a way that was both subtle and effective. And they succeeded in that particular approach. The last issue that came up was Persepolis, that huge, extravagant party he threw, which became a major point of controversy, and which, celebrating 2,000 years of Cyrus, and so on. This caused some issues. When the Shah came, the last time I saw him before the revolution, about 7 months before, he spoke about oil. He said that the price of oil should be $100 or $80. It was 34 at the time. He said this price was too low and it's unacceptable. He said that the uses of oil, this oil must be different from the current uses, and that there are about 1,000 types of this and that. He spoke logically, and I published it for him back then. The attacks on him began. At that time, the president of the United States was Jimmy Carter. President Carter decided to support the group, standing with them and also with the religious clerics who were involved, including Ayatollah al-Khomeini. Al-Khomeini, who would later become a major figure in Iran, was among those clerics Carter supported during this period. Saddam Hussein allowed him to leave Iran and come to Iraq. Then in Iraq, and this is something people may or may not believe this, but while he was in Baghdad, he somehow managed to annoy not just the Iraqis around him, but even Saddam Hussein himself. Whether it was something he said, did, or just the way he acted, he ended up getting on their nerves more and more as time went by. So he asked, and you, Saddam Hussein, you strongly hinted to the Shah of Iran, from what I've gathered, he hinted to the Shah, saying, we're going to kill this Al-Khomeini. He replied, how can you possibly kill him? They'll just blame me for it tomorrow and everyone will know what happened. No, leave him alone. He's an old man. He might die tomorrow anyway, and then we'll be rid of him. One day in a cinema in Iran, 400 people were watching a movie. They blew it up. Al-Khomeini and his group blew it up, and everyone inside died, 400 young people and others. Naturally, they blamed the Shah, and that's what incited his departure, okay? They deported the Shah from Iraq, and he tried to come to Kuwait, but the Kuwaiti authorities stopped him. They told him, we do not want any trouble. He was received, based on what we read in the memoirs, he was received by French intelligence and American intelligence. And then, sir, they put him in this lovely villa in France. Then they started smuggling cassette tapes to him. He would give a speech and it would go there, and they would record it onto these, about 1 million cassettes, 2 million. And people would listen and be moved by what he said. It was pleasing talk, as our brothers in Egypt say, pleasing talk. He would start talking about this and that. And of course, he would wrap it in a religious context and so on. So people flocked to him, except for them. And there was a lot of resentment back then because of, and the Americans, as far as my information as a journalist goes, the Americans wanted to remove the Shah. They were going to remove the Shah. So they got excited about the idea and went ahead with it. And okay, they removed the Shah. You see, on that day, I was having lunch at our brother's place, Mr. Khalif al-Haftar, and Carter was there. So I was being friendly with him and all. And I said, Carter, you are the one who destroyed the region. You are the one who killed the Shah, and so on. He said to me, no, not me. I said, no, man, it was. So I remember this, this thing that happened.
He denied being the cause, that America was the cause. He denied that America was the reason.
Yeah, he said, no, not me, not me. Yeah, he said those words, not me. I told him, man, you did this. And under his shadow, the region has been ruled for 47 years. Man, oh man, we have not been stable for 47 years. Our countries are doing well, maybe, but Iran is a great nation if only it had a leader. The Shah had a 30-year plan, not a 5-year one. I remember discussing it with him. I said, 30 years is a bit long for the people. He had said it from 1970 to 2000, a plan. He wanted to establish, to make Iran the major factory for all the GCC countries, networks, planes, I don't know, food, whatever else, tourism, and so on. He had it all set up, ready for him, and he started. He contacted the Japanese, he contacted the Americans, he contacted the major corporations, he contacted the oil companies, and they all came. And then, long life to you, his flaw was, and this, I hope, God willing, the GCC rulers won't do, is that he was out of touch with the people. He was distant. I visited him at the palace. It's called Saad Abad Palace. And there's another one called, I remember, the Mirror Palace, and I saw him there maybe 10 or 15 times, spread out over several different visits. Each time we met, he seemed comfortable and at ease with the modern style that we both shared and appreciated, which made our time together feel easy and enjoyable. There were also a few other things that happened during those visits, things I did with him that stand out in my memory, but that is a story for another time.
Abu Mishal, I'd like to conclude with a question about the media. If you had the power today to change something in the Gulf media landscape, what would it be?
Well, it's already starting to change. Now, everything is digital, so you really can't do that anymore. The only thing is, we might actually be lacking a bit in analysis. A writer like Alfred or someone similar comes along and writes these thoughtful analyses. Even though personally, these analyses, which are published in most Western and American newspapers and similar publications, they have an agenda. It's not just pure advice. No, they have an agenda. You'll find an analysis aimed at attacking Trump or aimed at bringing down the Secretary of War or whatever he is. Over there, of course, they enjoy what is commonly known as freedom of opinion and also freedom of speech and so on. You really haven't reached that stage yet. We were in Kuwait, and unfortunately, through the existing National Assembly, but our Emir, may God protect him, realized that there was a bit of confusion and some misunderstandings and so on, and eventually he decided to stop going down that path. It is his right, and I am telling you honestly, it is better than it was before.
All right, Ahmed Abel Aziz Al-Jar, Editor-in-Chief of the Kuwaiti As-Siyasa newspaper and Arab Times. You've honored us and enlightened us, Abu Mishal. You've been great. And hopefully these days will pass.
No, hopefully. And look, as a citizen of the Gulf region, I truly hope that one day that these 6 stars, the GCC countries, will, finally be on the same page, whether it is in war, in peace, in the field of industry, and in everything connected to today. The Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the rest of the Gulf countries have all played important roles. Jamal, their combined GDP is over 4 or 5 trillion. 5 trillion, you can conquer the world with that. Conquer the world through specific industries by hiring scientists to come to you through international movement. When you move in everything you buy or sell as a single entity, it's different than when you are this one competing with that one, or that one with this one. The region, we are sure, the region is full of goodness. And today, you have brilliant young people, the best there is. Look, man, young people from our country study in America, and they study in America, and they work in America, they leave you. Why don't they come back? Why isn't there a place for them, whether Saudi, Kuwaiti, or UAE? The Americans take them, the French take them, they see in them, a needed profession and so on. And they stay there while you need them. Anyway, thank you. And I tell you, thank God, the path of all the Gulf countries, what's it called? All that's needed is for the connection between them to be stronger and the vision for the future to be clearer. I mean, right now, regarding this matter, I wished we had a single army, a Gulf army, to have one single army, a single joint chiefs of staff, and at the same time, local armies or local security, what's it called? But a great army that is unified.
Hopefully. I mean, sometimes they say the blow that doesn't break you, it makes you stronger. And perhaps the Cooperation Council has gone through periods of weakness in past years. And maybe, just maybe, we'll emerge from this crisis stronger than before, God willing.
In any case, crises are what bring us closer together.
That's true.
I remember before the invasion of Kuwait, we were actually still divided.
Yeah.
We were divided, distant from each other. Then came the issue of Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, and it united us. I was at the conferences that took place, whether in Qatar, Bahrain, or the UAE. One day I remember Sheikh Zayed, may he rest in peace, flew his plane in the morning. He went to Saudi Arabia and woke up King Fahd saying, "Get up, Kuwait has been invaded. We must stand by them." He woke him up from his sleep. Right? I don't know if you remember it, but I do. He's the one who stood up and said, "Come, this is Kuwait. We cannot leave it." Same with Bahrain. The Sheikh of Bahrain, Sheikh Isa, when they took him to the hospital, he had a heart attack when Kuwait was invaded, and they rushed him to the hospital. A heart attack. That's it. I hope we haven't taken too much of your time.
No, on the contrary, your words are full of lessons. Honestly, you've done great, Abu Mishral. May God protect you.
Welcome.
Yeah, talking with you never ends. Half an hour isn't enough for us, and it's not enough for you, Abu Mishral.
My warm regards to His Highness, the President, Sheikh Mohammed ibn Zayed. May God protect him always, and to all the dear brothers, and to that truly great man, Mohammed ibn Rashid.
Our regards to Kuwait as well, its leadership and people. May God protect you. Thank you. Many thanks to you, Abu Mishral. You've done more than enough and enlightened us. Mr. Ahmed Abel Aziz Al-Jarallah, Editor-in-Chief of Siyasa and Arab Times Kuwait. Thank you, and thanks to all the viewers and listeners. Abu Mishral, half an hour really isn't enough. If I stayed for days and days, your stories and vast experiences, we'll have another meeting soon in Kuwait. Always follow us on social media at arabcast.ae and suggest great guests like Mr. Abu Mishral. Please accept my regards, your brother Jamal Al-Mula from the UAE. This is Gulf Uncensored.